Hi, I'm Deborah Kaufman with Broadcast Beat, and we are at the 2017 Society of Motion Picture and Television Engineers Conference and Exhibition. I have with me today Patrick Howley. He's a familiar face. You've been in the media and entertainment business for a long time, haven't you?
Quite a long time.
Quite a long time. We've known each other many years. So this time, however, Patrick is here with a company called DCIM Pro. And I understand this is a bit of a different kettle of fish for you. Why don't we start off by you explaining to me what DCIM Pro actually is?
Okay. It's an acronym for Data Center Infrastructure Management, and it's a software that monitors and can control data centers. It became popular about 2007, the first entrees, and now it's grown to monitor everything in a data center, including colos, the edge, and that's where the company got the name from. It's a division of Tenzing Corporation, which has been around 16 years. And Tenzing started out selling KVMs into data centers, large ones, like 1,000 user KVM systems and out-of-band access, and then slowly morphed into other aspects of data centers.
So this is a big company.
It's virtual, small company, but we have a lot of subcontractors. I have subcontractors that do the PS to install. I have subcontractors to do the IT side of the business, the wiring and all that. But we consult, sell, support. But the exciting thing I'm doing is I'm adapting some of that technology into post-production machine rooms.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you.
Yeah.
You know, how did you have such a long, illustrious history in post-production? How did you end up at this company that focuses on data centers?
Yeah, a quick background check. I come out of New York. I worked in aerospace for a little while, Apollo 11, 12, and 13, that's how old I am. And then worked at post houses, built my own post house, owned one, and then closed it in 2002, moved out here, and was doing sales consulting, workflow analysis. And then just recently I was introduced to the owner of DCIM Pro. He kind of recruited me and was interested in my M&E background, because a lot of the technologies, as I said earlier, are applicable for post and broadcast machine rooms.
Right.
And we can talk a little more in depth a little later about that, and I'll explain what it is I'm actually doing.
Well, it's interesting because we've been talking a lot at this show about the evolution to IP networks.
Yeah.
So everything's becoming data now, isn't it?
Yeah. So if you think about it, every machine room, whether it's a server in a closet to a large machine room like a deluxe, they're morphing into little data centers. Some of them 100 racks, but you know the big enterprise data centers have thousands of racks. The colos have thousands of racks. But the machine rooms, like you said, video and audio over IP, tons of servers, and they basically are little mini data centers.
And what prompted you to make this change? Was it just the opportunity to do something?
Time for a change.
Time for a change.
And I had a network of people I was working with doing installations. I worked with a company, Media, that does a lot of the CAD drawings. They work with architects. They lay out all the structure for all the wiring. So it's natural to bring them into the fold. I use them for my installations and engineering. And then we have some connections on the professional services side to install all the heavy metal, the air conditioning and power. So it's kind of natural. And I wanted a career change.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand that. It's time for something new.
Yeah.
Well, talk a little bit about, I take it that up until now, it's DCIM Pro, is that how it's pronounced?
DCIM Pro.
The DCIM Pro has not been in the media and entertainment business, is that correct?
That's not quite true. They haven't been aggressively going after it except for KVMs. So keyboard, video, and mouse extenders. They're resellers for ThinkLogical, IHSE, Adder, Avocent. And so the owner of the company that recruited me has done a lot of work with Disney and DirecTV and AT&T, Comcast, NBC, but limited to KVM and that kind of stuff.
Got it.
And some of the software we talked about that monitors and controls, not so much controls, monitors data centers. They're in DirecTV and other places. But there's other parts of M&E that DCIM Pro was not penetrating. So and that's where I come in.
You had a conversation and you saw this as a ripe opportunity to be involved, I take it, more deeply.
Funny enough, I was introduced to Chris James, the owner, by Belinda Merritt, who we all know and love.
Yes.
She said, you have to talk to Pat. So we met at a Society of Television Engineers meeting, and we hit it off. And we worked out a plan, and I came over lock, stock, and barrel. I still have my own consulting company, but I'm bringing a lot of that into DCIMpro.
So you're saying SMPTE acted as a matchmaker for this career change,
Yeah.
it sounds like.
SMPTE, HPA, STE, it's all a great network of people, the best people in the world.
I love it.
I love it.
That's great. So
Yeah.
talk a little bit about, you must be at the stage now of creating plans for how you're going to go ahead and
Yeah.
help the production
It's
and
been about a year.
post-industry.
The first 6 months was learning all about data centers. I'm an engineer, so I'm a pretty quick learner, but complicated. And so my task, I was tasked to adapt some of the high-end technology in data centers, scale it down, make it affordable for post houses, and help them overcome the problems they have in machine rooms. Like post and broadcast machine rooms are constantly going down because the air conditioning fails, there's
yeah.
power problems. Big data centers don't have those problems.
Right.
They spend a lot of money to fix them, but if you can cleverly take that technology and scale it down and put a smaller set into a machine room, even a small closet, you can eliminate things like downtime. In the old days, the method of keeping a machine room cold was blow as much cold air as you can in. Freeze everybody.
Yes,
You walk around
correct.
machine rooms, they're wearing mufflers and hats, and then suck the air out of the top of the racks and get it into the returns. And that's expensive to do. The air conditioner is running full blast all the time. And when it fails, it's not a pretty sight. A lot of the post houses and broadcast machine rooms don't have monitoring. So they don't know when it's about to fail. So what I'm adapting is some smart technologies for intelligent power, when you can start to see if something's drawing a lot of power, if the temperature's changing in one rack, getting really high. So it's better power distribution, better air conditioning, less air conditioning to do the same job. And we're now starting to get to something that's even wilder than that, and that's what we call smart rows.
Smart rooms.
Smart rows. Smart rows are self-contained racks.
Okay.
Could be 2 or 3 of them, could be 100 of them. But they have in-row cooling, they have fire suppression built in, and they have power distribution. So the UPSs, the batteries, the fire suppression, and the cooling are all in a self-contained group of racks. A power bus runs along the outside on the top, and they're deployable within weeks. You pull up with the racks, you bolt them down for seismic reasons, and then it's a self-contained unit in a room neutral. So you can keep the room at 74 degrees, and the equipment is nice and cool.
So is this a product then that DCIMpro invented? Or?
No, it's one of our vendors called Vertiv. And Vertiv is the reincarnation of Emerson Power and Liebert.
Okay.
It's all an Avicent. They're all one big happy family under the Vertiv name. And they came out with this technology about a year ago. And I've been using it to do 50 rack layouts, 10 rack layouts, even a half a rack in a closet can be self-contained.
That's amazing. So you already are doing installations in the post business.
Yeah, we're working on a couple of big projects. One's out in Las Vegas. I can't really talk about it yet, but we're getting close to, the concrete walls are up. It's a big data center with a network operations center attached to it. So there's a lot of media attached to it. It's the perfect first big job for me to handle.
Right.
There's a big M&E chunk, and there's a big data center chunk, and the interconnection. I'm even getting involved in the tech furniture design.
Oh, do talk about tech furniture.
Yeah. I'll give a plug for Winstead and Elizabeth at Pacific, I forget the name of her company, but she's working with me on helping to design the consoles. A lot of them, wrap around, monitors on the walls, so that's been fun. It's my first foray into console design. I used to buy them from companies like Forecast Media, TBC,
right.
Winstead.
Yeah.
So using a lot of M&E smarts to work along data centers and incorporate that technology into machine rooms.
So what parts of the media and entertainment business do you think this is going to be the most valuable for?
I think anybody that has a machine room, whether it's a post-production facility, a broadcast facility. We're working with a couple of companies that are internet broadcasters.
Okay.
And they've got 3 racks, but they're in a closet and they're overheating. So no job's too small, no job's too big.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So what will the post-facility machine room of the future look like then?
It could be smart rows. It could be smart rows or hot aisle, cold aisle containment. I don't want to get too technical in this, but there's ways of containing the hot air. So it could be a combination of any of that. But I'd like to see it be smart rows.
Interesting. And do you think, will there ever be a situation where some of it is remote to the data center? In other words, that your capacity is actually being handled at a nearby data center?
Well, a lot of the data centers, this is a theory that a lot of the data centers aren't growing, that we're not building new data centers.
Okay.
We're reconditioning old ones, but that's not true. They're still building them. Colos are the thing that's happening now. So co-locations. And then more importantly from that, from the colo, there's edge connections. So some of these corporations might have 1,000 edge units that are in closets at retail stores. So edge units are usually where latency is important.
Right.
And so you go from the data center to the colo to the edge. And the Internet of Things is popping up. So from the data center, the big data center, you want to be able to monitor the colo and the edge, and you want to know what's going on everywhere. So that's where the DCIM software that we sell comes in. And Vertiv makes it, it's called Trellis, there's Sunbird, there's Enlight, there's a whole bunch of them.
Tell us about the software. What is it, what would it do for me?
The software basically allows you to map out your data center, rack elevations, floor plans, and then wherever there's environmental monitoring, and some of the data centers measure the temperature at the bottom of the rack, the middle, and the top. It'll also measure where your power is going. It'll allow you to turn on and off single outlets, reboot servers, come in remotely. And it'll also monitor the colo and also the edge.
Right.
So it's more about monitoring than controlling, but you can do some control. And in the past, data centers, the IT side of the data center and the facility side of the data center were two separate islands. Facilities worried about air conditioning power and generator backup, and the IT guys are worried about bandwidth and all the stuff that they worry about. And lately, they're getting the two together under DCIM software and even interfacing to the building management systems. So we just brought a guy on, Ajay, who is an expert at writing code and doing the bridges between the two systems, including building management.
So I'm curious, as you meet with people in the post-production industry or the broadcast industry, do you need to educate them, or is this something that they just get it immediately?
They get it right away that their machine rooms might not be the best equipped to deal with air conditioning and power. And then sometimes it's the budget. If it's still running, I'm not going to spend money to make it better. But some of them say, yeah, you know what? I've got 2 racks in a closet. Let's try these smart rows, smart racks.
Right. I mean.
So there's some education involved.
Right.
Yeah.
But I'm sure all the people who work in a machine room will be happy they don't have to bring coats to work in August.
Yeah. Oh, I'll tell you a funny story. My first entree into environmental monitoring. We built Post Perfect in 1987. And a lot of people,
there.
I know, you interviewed us.
Yes.
And we had something called the very cold machine room.
Oh gosh.
This is Dean Winkler's brainchild.
Dean Winkler, right.
So it was take tons of Liebert air conditioning and pump it in there, and no one's going to be in there anyway. It's where all the K-scopes are and everything, but people were in there. So we had tons of air going in there, and it was the hottest room in the place, so we kept it at 64 degrees, I think 45% humidity, we had air filters in the ceiling, everything was great. But the air conditioners were being fed chilled water from a tower on top of the Daily News building. And that water was dirty, had leaves in it. About 6 months into the operation, we're cranking. The air conditioner fails in the very cold machine room at midnight. And maybe a few people are around, but they're not walking in there because it's too damn cold. So we come in the next morning, we got drives fried, and we got to get the air conditioner back up and running, clean out the leaves from the chilled water. So Dean says, I got it. We're going to put a thermostat on the wall, and if the temperature ever goes above 85 degrees, it'll shut the equipment off. I said, great. So a month later, the leaves clog up the air conditioner again, They go off, the temperature starts rising, it hits 85.1 degrees and shuts the entire room down while we're working.
Oh.
So I said, maybe this isn't such a good idea. Maybe there should be like notification when it's getting close, or maybe set it 88 or something.
Right.
So that's funny. That was my first entree into environmental monitoring.
Well, you know, in telling these stories, which of course I recall those kinds of things happening, it seems almost primitive, doesn't it?
Oh my God, yeah. And
Right.
yet, there are places that don't even have that temperature sensor, and they just hope the air conditioner is working. They're further behind now than we were back in '87. At least we tried, you know.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Well, this sounds like DCIM Pro is a perfect place for you to be.
Yeah.
You have those stories. You can tell people why it's
Yeah.
important.
I'm probably going to start a blog about it. And
Great.
write about it.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
when you do, please let us know. We'll follow it, of course.
Yeah.
And I look forward to maybe next time we talk, you can have that project that you're building, you'll be able to talk a little bit more about it.
The Las Vegas project?
Yeah.
That's going to be a winner. And I'll tell you more about it. Part of my past, it links in with, I used to work at the racetracks.
Ah,
So
okay.
it's horse track related.
Ah, okay, we have a big hint here.
Yeah.
Sounds interesting to
Yeah.
me. Yeah, and
Yep.
sports, that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
That it would be a good customer for you.
Yep.
All right, well, we'll leave it at that. Thank you very much for being with us at SMPTE.
And thanks for having me on.
My pleasure.
All right, take care.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.